So today we are in Chaola village in Rufunsa district. We have actually been incepting our project Voices from the Grassroots for Climate Change. Really it was just to have a discussion with the communities to raise the awareness around climate issues, just engage them on the impacts of climate change on their livelihoods, the community impacts, but also discuss a little bit what are their mitigation and adaptation strategies that they're already using in the communities, but to take it further to also kind of start thinking around how do they influence government so that their voices are taken into considerations in terms of policy implementation, policy shaping, but also looking at the current CDF. How do we create space within the CDF space to ensure that some of the things that can be addressed are tailored to climate change adaptation. So it's very interesting that today we have actually also discussed who is the most impacted when it comes to climate issues, and the communities and ourselves are really agreed that women are actually the ones who are bearing the brunt of the climate crisis, and more emphasis on whatever mitigation adaptation strategies we develop should focus on centering the voices of women and looking at the needs of the women and children. So it's very clear that people are aware about the issues around climate change because they are living the reality of climate change. But we need to engage more on how do they adapt and mitigate climate change within the communities. So when it comes to food security, because food and nutrition security, our organization is mostly focusing on how do we ensure that even when the climate is changing, people are still able to feed themselves. We have put up strategies like promoting community seed bank and promoting crop diversity within the communities, and also how do we produce in a more sustainable manner that leaves room for future generations to still produce and utilize the same soil and earth that these people who are already here are using. So we speak around really following agroecological practices, we speak around crop diversity, but we are seeing that there's room within CDF, which is now one of the things that is mostly talked about, to actually address also issues of how do we improve communities' livelihoods in also but mainstreaming climate change issues. So it is very important that women voices are heard, because women and the children are the most marginalized when it comes to climate issues. So we find that the impact on the women is more than any other person in the community. So in terms of globally, we also see that the gender gap is still very wide, and we want to ensure that the women within the communities are empowered and are not left behind in terms of mitigation and adaptation.